He came in the night, a phantom born of shadow and fear, a silent predator stalking the gaslit streets of a vibrant city. He left no trace, only blood, shattered families, and a profound, echoing silence that resonated long after he vanished. But once, in a twisted act of macabre mercy, he made an impossible promise, a chilling ultimatum that forced an entire city to play for their lives. He promised to spare them if the city played jazz. This is the true story of the Axeman of New Orleans, a chilling blend of vibrant music, brutal murder, and a terrifying mystery that was never truly solved. It was the night of May 23, 1918, when the horror began. Joseph and Catherine Maggio, a couple of Italian grocers, were found murdered in their home on the corner of Upper Line and Magnolia Streets. Their throats had been slit with a straight razor, their heads then bludgeoned with an axe. The killer had entered through a chiseled-out panel on the back door, left the weapons behind, and vanished without a trace. What made the case especially macabre was the choice of tools. The razor belonged to Joseph's brother, who lived in the adjoining apartment. The axe had been taken from the Maggio's own backyard. The murderer had not brought weapons. He had used what was at hand. The brutality, precision, and eerie lack of motive or theft sent waves of fear through the community. Over the next several months, more attacks followed. On June 27, Louis Bessumer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were struck in their bedroom with an axe while they slept. Both survived, though Lowe later died of her injuries. Bessumer, a grocer of mixed European descent, was initially suspected but later cleared. Just weeks later, on August 5th, a young woman named Anna Schneider, 8 months pregnant, was attacked while she slept. She too survived, and her child was born healthy 2 days later. No forced entry was detected, but again a household axe was used. The city trembled as newspapers began to draw connections. Most victims were grocers, many of Italian descent, and most were attacked in their homes at night. Entry was often made by removing a panel from the back door. Nothing was stolen. The weapon of choice was always an axe. Then came a letter. On March 13, 1919, the New Orleans Times-Picayune received a cryptic and disturbing letter, allegedly from the Axeman himself. It read, "They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell." What followed was even more bizarre. "I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared if jazz bands are playing in every dance hall and home throughout the city." The killer claimed he would pass over any house playing jazz at midnight the following Tuesday. The city exploded into music. Dance halls were filled to capacity. Jazz bands were hired on the spot. From rich mansions to small apartments, the sounds of trumpets and pianos echoed into the night. No one was killed that evening. Despite the musical reprieve, the murders resumed. On August 10, 1919, Steve Boca, another grocer, was attacked and survived. On August 30th, Sarah Lauman, a young woman, was struck while sleeping and also lived. The final known victims were Mike Pepitone and his wife. On October 27, 1919, Mrs. Pepitone awoke to see a shadowy figure fleeing the scene after killing her husband. This last crime echoed the very first. A similar method, a similar silence. But this time, no letter followed. And then, the Axeman vanished. The people of New Orleans were divided. Some believed the Axeman was a supernatural entity. Others were certain he was a human predator. A few thought the mafia was involved, citing the Italian descent of many victims. Police investigated extensively, but the clues were maddeningly scarce. Witnesses offered vague or conflicting accounts. Suspects came and went, but none were definitively tied to the crimes. Many of the tools used in the killings were found at the scene, abandoned like trophies. No fingerprints, no confessions, no motive. The killings stopped as mysteriously as they began. One of the most haunting aspects of the Axeman's legend is his relationship with jazz. Why jazz? Why music? Some historians argue it was a hoax, a sick joke by the killer, or someone exploiting the fear. Others suggest it was a form of psychological control, turning fear into frenzy. Jazz, born from New Orleans' own streets, became both a shield and a celebration of life in the face of death. Local legend says that the Axeman walked the streets himself that night, listening to music, a grim smile on his face. He wanted to prove his power. He did. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged. Some claim the Axeman was a deranged man with a hatred for grocers or immigrants. Others think he was a skilled burglar who enjoyed inflicting terror. A few connect him to earlier axe murders in Texas, suggesting he was a traveling serial killer. One theory points to a man named Joseph Momfrey, a petty criminal with mafia ties who was shot and killed in Los Angeles in December 1920. Some believe he was the Axeman and that his death ended the killing spree. However, no concrete evidence links Momfrey to the crimes. The lack of consistency, some victims survived, others didn't. Some were Italian, others weren't. Some homes were ransacked, others untouched. Makes pinning a motive difficult. Was it racial hatred, a psychological obsession, or a random act of malevolence? The Axeman of New Orleans is more than a historical footnote. His reign of terror has become part of the city's dark tapestry. He's inspired books, documentaries, horror films, and even an episode of American Horror Story. But why does this figure endure? Perhaps it's because he was never caught. The mystery tantalizes the imagination. Or maybe it's the strange blend of brutality and music, death and jazz that defines the story. It's the stuff of nightmares and of folklore. New Orleans, a city that dances with ghosts, keeps the Axeman alive in memory. Tour guides whisper his tale to wide-eyed listeners. Musicians riff on the night he let the city live. Writers reimagine the phantom killer, giving him shape and voice. In a way, the Axeman succeeded in etching himself into cultural immortality. Not through justice or trial, but through myth. For the people who lived through that year, the terror was real. Doors were double-locked. Axes were hidden. Music was played not for joy, but survival. For descendants and historians, the questions remain. Who was he? Why did he kill? Why did he stop? In a city built on music, magic, and memory, perhaps it makes sense that one of its darkest figures would be so elusive. He was part man, part ghost, part jazz. Today, the homes where the murders occurred still stand. Some are occupied, others are abandoned. But on quiet nights, some say they can hear faint music drifting through the air, like a warning or a memory. The Axeman has not struck again, but he has never really left. The story of the Axeman of New Orleans is one of paradox, of music and murder, silence and sound, certainty and mystery. It is a tale that defies easy answers. It lives in the spaces between history and legend, like the pauses between jazz notes that say more than sound itself. In those gaps, the Axeman remains, an unsolved riddle, a chilling footstep in the corridor of time. He reminds us that even in a city that sings, there are shadows that dance to a different tune. And sometimes all it takes to keep the darkness at bay is to play a little jazz. Who was the Axeman of New Orleans? A deranged killer with a twisted love for jazz, or a phantom born from the chaos of a fearful city? Was his letter a taunt from a real man, or a myth spun into madness by a city on edge? One thing's certain, his axe may have stopped swinging, but his shadow still haunts the back alleys of history. What do you think? Was the Axeman ever caught and covered up? Or did he simply vanish, satisfied with the terror he left behind? If you're drawn to unsolved mysteries, eerie legends, and dark tales history tried to forget, then you're exactly where you need to be. Don't just listen. Subscribe to Dark Thread Chronicles, where the past is never truly dead, and the truth is always darker than fiction.